Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Black Doctoral Network weekly web series entitled Conversation Starters. I'm your moderator, Fessé Longue, and I'm excited that you could join us this evening for a great discussion that we will be having entitled Black Excellence, Reshaping Academic Success. I am thrilled to have two wonderful panelists joining us this evening that will really dive deep into what this really looks like. Our first panelist joining us is Danielle Desjardins, who currently is the coordinator for Transfer and Veteran Success and University Veteran Representative at the University of New Haven. She currently is pursuing an EDD in Higher Educational Leadership at Regis College. With her 11 years of experience in higher education, she's an advocate for student, veterans, and military affiliated communities, as well as focusing on trauma that women experience in student affairs. Welcome, Ms. Desjardins. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Our next panelist joining us is Mr. Jason Schenkel, who currently is the CEO and founder of Inner Self and Wisdom LLC. He currently is pursuing a doctorate in higher education at the University of Denver, and his focus entails Black male identity and how to navigate the educational system. I welcome you, Mr. Schenkel.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So I want to go ahead and jump right in and get this conversation started and ask you all some really intriguing questions to get a real understanding of what Black excellence really looks like. So the first question that I have for you all is, how would you define Black excellence? Ms. Desjardins.
So I think Black excellence to kind of everybody means a little bit something different. So when I think of Black excellence, I think of following through on a goal, on a passion, on a plan, taking something that you didn't think was possible, maybe in a setting or a scenario that's wasn't meant for us, and just really taking that and running with it and striving. Continuing that excellence is just as hard as engaging and setting foot with that excellence that very first time. So, I think Black excellence evolves over time. My idea of Black excellence maybe 10 years ago is probably vastly different than how I feel today. It might be different from how I feel 5 years from now. But I think when it comes down to excellence, it's a lot of kind of how we define it and, representing ourselves in the best light in our communities as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
And Mr. Schenkel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I echo a lot of those things. When I think about Black excellence, definitely over the years it has gone through a transformation. But when I hear Black excellence, I hear the breaking of generational curses, patterns and cycles and things like that. I think that excellence is a lot more, Black excellence is not more intricate than just results, right? Typically, when we think of excellence, we think of a sum or a residue of solving problems and solving issues and things like that. So when I hear Black excellence, I hear the protection of legacy. Because when we protect our legacy and we break generational curses, we're excellent in itself. And when we see it in our children and our children's children, that's what's excellent to me.
I like that. And I think that's why I wanted to put that as the first question to show our audience that everyone has their own definition of how they actually see it. It was just influenced by a lot of factors. But I appreciate both of your responses to that question.
Yeah.
So the next question that I have is, why do you think it is important to discuss Black scholarship in today's society? Mr. Schenkel.
The thing is when I see this question, the first thing that comes to mind and the importance of discussing Black scholarship is entrepreneurship. Not only ownership, but this accountability of our energy. Because if we're not talking about Black scholarship with our children and within our within our own community and our tribes, right? How are we able to actually come together? How are we actually able to navigate if, we got one person that has a strategy here, another person that has a strategy here, and all we're trying to do is get to a destination of healing or breaking of generational curses. Although when I hear scholarship, it's so intricate. because we have to create systems within systems. And so when we talk about Black scholarship and how we navigate, you think about it, especially going to a PWI university, right, and having to carve out, because I don't change. I'm not appeasing them, right? I just tell it like it is. And when I see, the importance of Black scholarship is so pivotal. It's whenever I see scholarship, I see systems, I see opportunities, and entrepreneurship. You got to own the stuff, right?
Mhm.
If you're not owning it, and then we loaning it, basically. So
Nice thought. I like that.
Mhm.
Miss Desjardins.
So I echo many of Jason's sentiments, and I think now more than ever, if we aren't celebrating Black scholarship, who's going to do it for us, or who's going to be celebrating our scholarship, right? And I think of how COVID has kind of thrown everything to the wind for everybody, right? And essentially, minority communities, we all know this, have been impacted disproportionately by COVID and all of that. And so working in higher ed, it'll be interesting to see how Black scholarship changes, especially for our new and up and coming students who are considering, college, considering, doctoral programs. It'll be interesting to see, how the idea of Black scholarship changes kind of in the world that we live in. But moral of the story is, if we're not celebrating it ourselves, who's going to do it for us?
All right. No, I totally agree with both of you all that it's important that we actually recognize it ourselves so others can really appreciate and understand definitely where it comes from. Well, thank you all for that. The next question that I have is, what disparities are present for African American scholars pursuing higher education? Ms. Desjardins.
So when I first saw this question, I thought back to one of my first teaching opportunities that I had at a local community college here in the state of Connecticut. And it was a wonderful opportunity. It was my first teaching opportunity. And I remember standing in front of the class. This was, pre-COVID time. So standing in front of the class, being a woman of, mixed race, in front of a sea of beautiful faces, Black, white, everything in between. And I remember sharing with them that it wasn't until I was in college that I had an instructor who was a minority. And so I remember saying to them that night in class, it was like a 6 o'clock psychology class, and just how important it was for me in that moment to be the educator for them. Some of them, based off of their backgrounds and the stories that they've shared, they talked about how they always grew up with minority instructors. And it was so interesting to hear them say that, but also for them to hear me share that story with them. And so when I think of the disparities, I think a lot about representation, right? I mean, how much would our experience have changed if we had somebody leading the way who looked like us, or who could relate to us and our stories and our experiences? So I think that's probably one of the biggest disparities that I think with Black scholars pursuing higher ed, because how are we going to know essentially what to do if there's nobody there essentially leading the way for us if we need it?
No, that you brought up a very valid point. Representation is definitely important. Mr. Schenkel.
Yeah, I agree with what Danielle is saying. I was also a psychology professor for 5 years at the Community College of Denver before opening up my private practice in Park Hill, where I'm from. Um, the word that comes to my mind when I think about disparities is a paper that I wrote a while ago. Um, there's this term, illegitimate opportunity structure, right? Um, it's not like I'm sitting here doing the blame game and stuff like that. It's a game that's designed to make sure that you don't measure up. And so when I hear disparities, once again, I hear systems within systems. And I had a similar experience of teaching at the Community College of Denver and connecting with Black students and students of all races, and then going to DU, and a lot of the things that a lot of students encounter that I've realized we've had in common is how to navigate the gatekeepers. It's a similar structure to America, right? That's why I feel like when we talk about disparities and we talk about solutions or things like that, we have to be willing to create systems within systems, because those systems even need us. If they're not oppressing anyone, who are they going to turn to take this out on? So it's really an illegitimate opportunity structure, and until we're able to create systems within systems and be able to navigate it and hold people accountable. And that's the thing. People listen when you touch their pockets. People listen when cameras start coming in and things like that. I'm not trying to, but as you can see, you can get my style. I have an intense personality, and being on this campus, being on that campus, and when I was, a student support coordinator, and students would come to me about things and say, "Oh, this teacher did X, Y, Z," I would tell them, "Well, how can you navigate this in a way that you're not coming just to be heard, but you make them come to hear you, because when it's affected, right, and the influence, right?" So when I hear that part about the disparities, it's an illegitimate opportunity structure until a person is ready to navigate this in a way. It's like it being in a boxing ring. If you keep getting hit with the same jab, it's a great jab, but you need to move your face. And if you're not willing to get off of those ropes and move around and talk about taking accountability, because it's difficult, right? These rules and things are put in place to make sure that you feel oppressed, make sure that you feel like racism is designed to make you feel like you're losing your mind. But then again, they want to always come to see how you think and things like that. So this illegitimate opportunity structure, and when we have these gatekeepers that's designed to make sure we feel oppressed, if we're not willing to create systems within systems and be able to have audibles, right, be able to come up to the line of scrimmage and say, "Hey man, we see a blitz coming X, Y, Z," everybody be on the campus about that. Because then when there's racist things that's happening on campuses and racist practicing happening within advisors and things like that, you can structure it in a way to make them feel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think when I hear disparities, a deliberate, illegitimate opportunity structure designed to make sure you don't measure up.
Hmm.
How are you going to navigate?
No, you're absolutely right, and I totally agree. And thank you for highlighting the other factors or the social factors that are actually influence that structure or that model you were just referencing. So that's important, and I appreciate this dialogue that we're having this evening, because it really breaks down or dissects what really makes up Black excellence and the disparities and issues that Black scholars face. So thank you all. So the next question that I have, and Mr. Shankles mentioned the systems within systems. Do you think that the current educational system provides the necessary foundation for African American academic success? Ms. Desjardins.
I don't think so. And I think, more and more we're seeing that it doesn't. It was never really a system that was created for us. It may provide a foundation of, math skills, maybe writing, things like that. But we're still fighting to have African American history cemented in curriculums. We're still fighting for ensuring that everybody has equal opportunities. So I definitely don't think our current educational system gives us the necessary foundation. And I think there's still a lot of work that we've got to do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Schenkel.
That is a passionate no.
With my whole chest.
Yeah. I'm with you, Danielle. A definite no. So when I think about when we're talking about foundations and African American, academic success and these things like that, I find it very peculiar that when we're having these conversations about, we can say America's landed free, we went through all these transitions, and segregation didn't go anywhere. I find that interesting that we still have institutions that still have this mindset of, oh, this is just how it is, and then you can walk on the campus and get treated like you were in 1960. Yeah, because that's how it is on the campus that I've been on. Things will happen, people aren't held accountable, and then they just ask you to just have a Coke and a smile. I'm not having no Coke and no smile. I'm about to sit here and I'm going to address these certain situations. But this is the thing, once again, with foundations, right? I wholeheartedly do not see, because this is the thing, what I see is when I was doing a lot of work on that campus, it's a checklist stuff. It's that we want black students to come here because we like black students, and it's just interesting. You put that kid on the advertisement, but if you talk to that kid on that campus, you say, "Hey, man, do you feel included? Do you feel I've literally done this?" They say no. And then you
Mm-hmm.
may ask, well, why did you take a picture? It's just like, well, I'm on this campus and this is the world that I'm in, right? There's a lot of things you would do. You don't know what you'd do if your stomach was touching your back, or if you had to be engulfed in a world that was constantly affirming that you're not accepted. You're not accepted. So when we talk about foundations and what schools need to actually do, I find it really, really peculiar when we think about this. This is a topic that we're forever talking about. And until we're able to, and I know that, we have HBCUs and things like that, but segregation didn't go anywhere. And so if the people that are the problem don't know that they have a problem, because I'm not into teaching white people about selective ignorance. I'm not into that. That's not my thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm in heavy psychology and have a background in what the psychology term is cognitive dissonance. That's too generous.
Mhm.
That implies somebody's using their brain.
Mm-hmm.
When we're putting these structures together and we're trying to make changes, it's interesting how these committees don't have people on the committees that they're trying to put the committee together for. I've seen it so many times. Why do we have a black committee on racial equality, 7 white people, 1 black guy, 1 black lady, and you mean to tell me that's not problematic?
Mm-hmm.
Until we're
No,
able to address things like that, we just staying on the merry-go-round, baby. We're staying on the
no,
merry-go-round.
no,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, you definitely are highlighting the issues that happen at the stakeholders and leadership, and like you said, sitting at the table. And as Ms. Desjardins was talking about lack of representation, that's what I'm getting from this conversation. That there's a lot of missing pieces that are not adding up, and it is adversely affecting Black scholars. So, thank you. Um, and so, moving into our next question, and which is a real highlight when it comes to Black excellence, the HBCUs. So, how important are HBCUs in the journey of higher education for African American scholars? Mr. Schenkel.
It's so essential. Um, I have attended, the first college I attended was a HBCU, Texas College in Tyler, Texas. I went there for 1 year. They went to Sam Houston State, PWI. And if you know the history behind Sam Houston and how evil he actually was, and I'm not going to get on that soapbox there, but as you can see, even in this conversation, even when I say Sam Houston, it would behoove us to think that our history is not following us and not setting precedents for things. So HBCUs are so pivotal. I feel like it was a feeling like no other to walk on the campus and see nothing but black people, nothing but black students. So even after attending Sam Houston State University, I got my master's from Regis Adjustment University, and now I'm at another PWI back in my home state. And I will say the most epic experience that I've ever had out of all of this college that I have gone through and finishing up my doctorate, it was Texas College. Just walking on that campus. And the minute I walk on there, they say, "Hey man, do you want a plate or something like that, man? Eat something, man. I don't. Where you from? Oh, that's all right. Hey man, I'm Bobby. Hey, nice to meet you. Go ahead. You know what I mean? That's amazing. Out of all of the scholarlistic things that I've done, the thing that was most memorable and had the biggest impact on me was watching on a HBCU campus. I remember it like it was yesterday. Just to be around that essence. Um, so if a student could attend a HBCU, I would say that would be such a essential thing about history, and it was almost spiritual to me just to walk on that campus and to see, hey man, look at this, right? Look at this. So HBCUs are essential to our history.
Mm.
You gotta experience this. You gotta experience it.
No, thank you. Ms. Desjardins, what are your thoughts?
I would absolutely agree and echo Jason's sentiments. I think HBCUs are critically important. Going back to my earlier point of representation, I mean, you're not going to get it anyplace else, any place better than that, right? And so having that leadership and that scholarship and that excellence right there on campus every day. And going back to what we were talking about before, when it comes to recruiting students of color, at a PWI and ensuring that they are actually seen while they're on campus, right? Like they're having, experiences that are beneficial to them and exchanging with people who are there to help further them and help grow them and, help them become seasoned leaders or whatever it is that they're looking to be. I think the value in an HBCU is huge. And I always thought, how different my college experience would have been had I had the opportunity to go to an HBCU, right? Like my undergrad, I went to a teeny tiny private women's Catholic college. Talk about poster child for PWI, right? And then I did my master's degree at a mid-size state or student private school. Pretty diverse, right? But I was working full time, so I was literally there to suffer through my workday and then kind of go and suffer through my schoolwork, right? And now in my doctoral program, I have the most incredible cohort of Black peers that I've never had before, and talk about like an incredible opportunity. So if you don't have the opportunity for an HBCU, kind of finding your tribe and finding your people will always help and get you through.
I totally agree with both of you all. I mean, the HBCU experience is a unique experience, and everyone, including you all, have confirmed the fact that it will not be like any other educational experience that you have, and that goes to show of the importance of going to HBCUs and getting that sense of community and support that is necessary for Black scholarship. So continuing on, when we're talking about again the educational system and institutions that make up that are comprised in it, what recommendations do you suggest that the educational institutions implement to create a supportive environment for African American scholars? Mr. Schenkel.
First thing I would say is they should be tuning in. So it's not a checklist type of thing. So that's the first thing that we have to get rid of. The next thing that I would say in terms of putting together a supportive system is being able to not just make another committee for the simple fact of passing the buck. I would like to see partnership in terms of, like, for example, I've had my private practice here in Denver for a while. I think that it would be a great idea if an institution was to reach out to me and then go, hey, we really want to earnestly know how to do, because this is the thing, it's not only just putting together the support system, it's mental, it's spiritual. It's a lot of these other pieces. And when we're dealing with racism, the only weapon for racism is self-care, period. So when we're talking about supportive systems, we got to remember why we are, what we are actually needing the support for, because the whys chase the whats. If we just say, "Oh, this is what is happening to us," well, let's get to the why, because I guarantee you, being on a PWI campus and you constantly walking around white privileged students, and then they could just do whatever they want to do, and then all of a sudden you stand up and you just say something, and all of a sudden you're scapegoated, right? And these type of things with these supportive systems, we have to create systems within systems. And we have to be leading those systems. And if they're not willing to allow, because it isn't allowed, because they could pull up statutes from 1804 and just say, well, this is the reason why we don't do this. You know what I'm saying? But I could pull up another statute of why you're doing something that's oppressing me. But you don't want to talk about that? If you're not willing to talk about that, then it's only so far we can go. So what one thing, just tangible wise, I think that one way to make sure to implement a type of environment is to have a diverse committee of some sort that is backed by the funding. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't just create another free committee. My time is valuable. We need to be talking to mental health professionals. We need to be talking to individuals that are in the law department and things like that, when we're really just legitimately talking about providing and creating a system for Black students on campuses that are constantly being targeted, constantly being oppressed just because they are Black and they're coming to that campus. So until we're able to actually do that, because it's the mental piece, racism is designed to make you feel like you're going crazy. So we got to be able to come together and create these systems within systems. And if there are any institutions or any directors listening to this and they say, oh, yeah, we've been working at it, we've been trying to do da 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 da, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. And fund that. Back that up. Hire somebody else to come in as a contractor or something like that. Like, yeah, it's not, that's because it's not important to them.
Right.
So I hope that I hope that I am articulating this clearly, because I know that I say support in those pieces, but we really need to be working on our mental health and working on our self-care and things like that, and systems
Yeah.
within systems. You can't want us to be a part of an oppressive system, and when we say we're tired of this and you are actually hurting us, they just sit here and tell you, oh, just suffer.
No.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So until we see movement like that, and it's something like that, create what? We have everything that we need to create. We were talking about Black excellence at the beginning of this.
Exactly.
We're excellent. Put
Yeah.
your money where your mouth is.
No, those are very valid points you made, and I believe a lot of our audience members are agreeing. We have several comments that have come in that are really agreeing with a lot of what you all have been saying. And again, this just goes to show the importance of having these conversations. Like you said, if we don't talk about it, then people will never know, and it will never become something that needs to be placed on the agenda of importance. So definitely. And again, reaching out to the audience, if you're enjoying this conversation, please like, comment, and share with any of your colleagues, family members, friends. This is what we're here for, to have these types of dialogues and open discussions on a lot of issues that definitely affect African American scholars. So the next question that I have is, how influential are family and community towards Black scholarship? Ms. Desjardins.
So I think family and community are everything. Family and community are what's going to get you out of bed in the morning to go to class. They are the ones who are going to be screaming the loudest when you're walking across the stage of graduation. But I think at the same side, your family and your community will also be sometimes your greatest stressor, or apply the greatest burdens on you while you're attempting to achieve this. And I think a lot of my research is talking about, my dissertation research is talking about trauma, and in light of COVID and all of that. And so I think of our Black and brown families now that may have a college age student who would have returned for their sophomore or junior year, but mom and dad lost their jobs, so now that student doesn't have that opportunity to come back right away. Or any of these different families who've been impacted. So I think when it comes to family and community, I think that's huge. And I think it really plays a role in our success. I think it plays a role in how we view ourselves. I also think it plays a role in the type of future that we envision for ourselves. Many of us have been fortunate enough to, be in a family that says, whatever you want, whatever you dream, whatever you desire, take it and run with it. But that may not be everybody. That may be, no, you're going to stay here. You're going to take care of the family. You're going to take care of the business. You're going to do this, 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 and this. Your dreams aren't necessarily the greatest priority in the scheme of, the family plan. So I think just, having that family and community is important, and maintaining it and ensuring that it's strong, if that's something that you choose to pursue, is critically important.
Thank you. And just I had a quick question, because you've said a lot of very important and pivotal things throughout this dialogue. So going back to family community, and with regard to your dissertation topic, there's a mental health aspect associated with that. Can you go into a bit more with regard to how that is affected by Black scholarship?
Sure. Most recently, a couple of my classmates and I wrote a paper that will actually be published, hopefully, fingers crossed, next month, talking about kind of all of the different roles that us as Black women have, and white women and all sorts of women have that are kind of dumped on us and that have been exacerbated by COVID, right? So it explores, and just kind of to put it into perspective, you know, my family could be telling me one thing, my supervisor could be telling me something else, my significant other could be telling me something else. But at the end of the day, how am I managing all of that? And as Black women, we take it all on. We're like, yeah, I got this, sis. Like, no problem. I can handle it. But now more than ever, we're kind of fighting back and saying, well, no, are you putting me here intentionally, or are you putting me here because I'm a Black face on an all-white committee and you just need representation?
Mm-hmm.
Back to Jason's comment earlier, my time is valuable and you are going to value it just as much as I do.
Right.
So ensuring, that we can balance everything, because again, as Black women, we're superheroes. We want to do it all. We want to save our community. We want to save each other. So thinking back to like the mental health piece, this time in our lives has exacerbated so many of the things that we've just kind of let slide. So now more than ever, we're practicing that resilience. We're advocating for ourselves, and we're being each other's like greatest champions in a time when we have never needed it more.
No, thank you for that. I think that was an important point to highlight because, like you said, mental health, and as Mr. Schenkel has mentioned, is sometimes put to the back burner of things, and we focus on a lot of other factors. So, Mr. Schenkel, what are your thoughts with regard to family and community towards Black scholarship?
It's the heart of healing. It's the veins on the heart as we're talking about this, because this is it's so critical. And so as I'm sitting here thinking about family, community, and peace, I am thinking about my dissertation project, and it is about navigation and being able to take the things that help heal us, because I love music and I'm a poet and I love to write so much, and I'm just like, wow, some people internalize things through art, right? And it's amazing how painful things become some of the most beautiful things that we call art,
Mm.
and the struggle, right? Um, so just to think about that part right there in terms of mental health and how to actually navigate, like what Danielle was saying, there are some individuals that where it's like, okay, I'm going through school, but hey, my family needs me in this regard. That does not mean that I am a failure. That's another reason why when we first started talking, I said the word entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does not have to be an entrepreneur. No, but this is the thing. It's, I believe it was Dick Gregory when he said, hey, it's one thing to have a community, but when you don't have the money that runs that community, you probably just got unity, because you got to have money. You got to have ownership.
Mm.
You got to have the ownership, because when you have ownership, you're able to go, hey, you know what? I got this going on, XYZ. Let's put you in this position so you can learn XYZ and all this, everything like that. Because, getting this degree is not a destination. I walk into a boardroom, they're more intimidated of my intelligence than if I came in there with a gun.
Mm.
And just being very definite and sure in who I am. That's intimidating to them. So when we talk about family and community, that's another reason why with my dissertation project of streamlining, really focusing on Black males, and then also, Black women can, take a look at the model too as well. But, I was streamlining, like, street philosophy and some of these things, and how we already navigate this illegitimate opportunity structure, right? And it's just like, we need our family. We need that support,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of us is doing it just for our family. We're doing it for us, but we're doing it for the future, right? And
Right.
nothing's more important than now. And we could talk about history, but this is how you break generational curses. The minute I sing family, I say we need to break these generational curses and these patterns. Because if we're not able to trans down oral history or oral instructions, they turn into secrets. And secrets are what create curses. And then we're conditioned to protect the curses. And we wonder why. we have the same conversations over and over. It's needed, but there's another way.
Mm, okay. No, thank you. And this has been a great conversation. I hope you all have been enjoying this dialogue. Thank you, Ms. Desjardins and Mr. Schenkel, for taking some time out this evening to really, dissect Black excellence for us. Um, this pretty much concludes the questions that I have, but I have one more question for you all. How has your affiliation with the Black Doctoral Network helped to enhance you personally and or professionally? Mr. Schenkel.
Oh, I remember when I went to a conference and I did my I did a presentation on the media portrayal of Black youth. It was just so liberating to be in a room with other Black people talking about this matter, and we were on the same page. This was not groundbreaking. Oh, it was kind of like this. It challenged me in a way. It intellectually challenged me because the questions that people asked me after doing the presentation, they were so profound, you know, and they would ask more questions about me. They would go, well, I see that you're still navigating this. What's the next piece to help that young man just like you? What is the next piece? Whenever I did that presentation here, not to say that people didn't care, but it was more one of those things where they were like, oh, we need to do something about this. We need to, so when I think about the Black Doctorial Network and just the exposure and everything that the Black Doctorial Network does, creating this platform right here just for us to have this good vibration. Uh, it's just it's invaluable. I feel like whenever those conferences come around, I feel like I get to go sit around my tribe. I feel like I get to sit around some campfire. I
Well,
need that.
thank you.
I need that. So
No,
yeah.
that's definitely what the Black Doctoral Network is all about, creating that safe and supportive environment for to expound on your scholarship and to feel, supported in doing so. Ms. Desjardins, what are your thoughts?
I would echo Jason's sentiments quite a bit. I remember some of the Black leaders on my campus would have Black Doctoral Network members on their like LinkedIn or their CV, and I was like, wait, I want to be in on that. Like, I want to join that party. So, again, having that representation and just seeing what people are doing, I think that kind of encourages me a little bit, to see what happens, once my doctorate's done next year, like what opportunities are available and, just connecting with like-minded people and being able to have, a great platform to have these types of really important conversations as well.
No, thank you both for your wonderful and kind words about the Black Doctoral Network. So, to the audience, this concludes Conversation Starters for this evening. Before we go, I wanted to reach out to our panelists to share the best ways that you can get in contact with them if you want to continue this conversation. Mr. Schenkel, how can the audience get in contact with you?
Yes. So my company website is www.innerselfandwisdom, INNERSELFANDWISDOM.com. Couple of other things. I write a lot of, poetry, released two poetry books. That's my website, www.blackazar.com, BLACKAUSAR. And I'm also in the process of rolling out my Patreon. I do a lot of podcasts already in the city here, and I am staying true to my word. If I'm saying create systems within systems and I'm not doing that, then I'm a part of the issue. So that is part of the reason why I am structuring to create a platform within Patreon that's for us. So and then yeah, so I'll also do my website. If you go to the website, my number's on there, things like that. Yeah, reach out to me. Reach out to me.
Definitely. Okay, thank you. Ms. Desjardins, what is your contact information?
So typically the best way to reach me is via email. So my email is daniellerdesjardins@gmail.com. Or Danielle Artist Drawings on Instagram. I'm a big Instagram fan. My photos are pretty old, but I'm very up on everything kind of in my stories and all of that. And then also under the same name on LinkedIn if y'all want to connect that way as well.
Wonderful.
And one more thing, I forgot to leave my email, Danielle. That's yeah. Don't just go to the website. So
That
my
is
email
important.
is jason@innerselfandwisdom.com. INNERSELFANDWISDOM. And then I also am on Instagram as well. And Facebook. So my Instagram is actually Inner Self Wisdom. So it's without the N. So it's just Inner Self Wisdom. You can message me through there. We can continue that conversation and pieces like that. But yeah,
Thank you. No, I want to extend a huge thank you to you both for joining me this evening and educating our panelists and providing them with your perspectives on Black excellence and how it intertwines with academic success. So I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for taking time out this evening. If you have enjoyed Conversation Starters and would like to keep up to date with the latest BDN developments, please be sure to check us out on blackphdnetwork.org and become a member, and or follow us on Facebook at Black Doctoral Network. I am your moderator, Fesse Longe, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good weekend.